My guest today is Mike Elbe, the president of John Wood Community College. We're going to talk about some things going on at the college and have President Elbe on a pretty regular basis to talk about things because of what John Wood Community College means to this community. And speaking of that, you guys have released some information talking a little bit about the college's overall economic impact to the community.
Well, in Northern Illinois University did the study, and they did it statewide, and they did two parts of it. The first part of it was done to sort of look at the state as a whole of the impact that community colleges, and there's 48 community colleges in the state of Illinois, but the impact that community colleges have on the state. And then they did actually local data to where they compiled numbers from our community college district, and our community college district serves 14 high school districts. We have 3 full counties and then 6 partial counties, 9 total counties in our community college district, and it provided data just in our district. And it was interesting because it was naturally someone outside of the college that created the information. Their information came from, I think, 7 different data sources, and the results were quite interesting. And there were 4 key components within the economic impact study that they released a few weeks ago.
And you're talking about $22 million overall, and just kind of talk about how that all comes together.
Okay. The John Wood's total budget is about $15 million. And so it takes into account the economic output of what we pay our employees, but in addition to that, it takes into account the business that we do within the communities that we serve. So when you take both of those and put those together, the economic impact study says that John Wood Community College provides $22 million of economic output for this area.
And I mean, when you talk about that, you're talking about employees when they go shop and do things like that. Absolutely. You're talking about the food you would buy for the cafeteria. I mean, that's that kind of thing. It really breaks it down to.
It does, and from what we pay our employees to what they go out and they go out and buy goods, and they live in these communities. In addition, the college does business. We have construction projects. We have computer needs and technology needs, and so it's the business also that the college does in the community as well.
And you get on other factors like when the basketball and the men's and women's team have teams come in, those teams have to stay at a hotel.
Absolutely.
Things like that. There's all kinds of when you look at the things that are affected, people. Well, let's say, $22 million, that sounds like a lot, but when you just take the entire scope in, you can see where that comes from.
Yeah, and it really is encompassing of all that. And, the nice thing about receiving this data from Northern Illinois University is it's not something that we've created.
Right.
It's something that the Illinois Community College Board contracted them to do the statewide study, and they provide that information to us to share within our communities.
Yeah, and I think that's important to note because when you look at John Wood, we're in that time of year where levies are being formulated, and then you'll get your tax bill and things. You talk about John Wood is in essence a state, but a public institution. So I think people want to know where that money's going to, and I think this is a great way to show, this is what it goes to.
Yeah, and I do like to point out we are a tax-supported institution.
Right.
But tuition and fees make up a little over 55%
Right.
of our revenues. So we're becoming much more of a tuition-generated or tuition-supported institution.
And speaking of tuition, when you look at those numbers, one of the other things we want to talk about is, the kids who do go out to John Wood. A lot of times there are kids who really don't know what they want to do. So they're like, okay, I'm going to go get my general studies done the first 2 years and kind of figure out what I want to do. But you've also got a case, as in many cases and instances, and I know of some, and I know you know of many more because you're the president out there, but where you have a kid who will go to a 4-year school and say, boy, this really wasn't for me, and I need to kind of come back and regroup and decide what I want to do.
Well, and we call those reverse transfers. And there was an interesting article in last night's Quincy Herald-Whig, and Kayla Bunch, a graduate of Quincy High School, went to the University of Missouri out of high school, over the holiday break, really sat down with her parents and reviewed the cost. She was an undeclared major, so wasn't quite sure what she wanted to pursue, and looked at loans and what they were spending out of pocket, and made the decision to transfer to John Wood Community College. And we see more and more of that. I think students, when they come out of high school, sort of have that perception of what they really want a college experience to be, and I think they sometimes can go off and see that, it can be just as real at John Wood as it is at other places. So, we do get those reverse transfers at semester, and we see more and more students that inquire and transfer back in January to get their basic general education requirements, and really then decide what they want to do and what degree or career path they want to pursue at that time.
And there's one other thing that I want to touch on briefly, and that's, when you have kids that aren't sure of what they want to do, or you're looking at careers and you're looking at choices, I know that you and the folks out of John Wood have done a real good job of reaching out to local businesses to determine what their needs are. And I think one thing that I've become more aware is I do business on Quincy Journal. We have trucking companies who come to us and try to help us get advertising and find out to where they can get drivers. But I've done some work with some companies recently, and that is a huge need. Well,
and really there's 4 areas, and when we talk about what John Wood Community College, the mission and vision of what we serve, it's transfer degrees to 4-year colleges and universities, but it's certificate seeking to provide those individuals with a skill and to be trained to go into the local workforce. And there's 4 areas that are in big demand: healthcare and healthcare workers, transportation, distribution, and logistics, TDL is what we call that, big demand, manufacturing, and agriculture. And when we look at good, solid, sustainable jobs, there's more opportunity in those 4 key areas locally than really in any kind of other degree-seeking path. And so, I'm glad to say that John Wood Community College does work with our employers to see what their needs are in what areas, and then try to develop curriculum and programs that can best fit those needs, and then supply those businesses with a skilled, trained workforce that can meet their needs.
All right. Again, Mike Elbe, the president of John Wood Community College, is my guest today. I want to thank you for stopping by, and we'll look forward to our next chat.
Okay. Thanks, Bob.